Aaron, hey, how are you? It's me, the guy on TV, saying your name into the camera, talking to you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for doing week two's assignments. And just for a reflection, just chock full of good info that just helps me know where you're at. And I'm so glad you said the thing about the guy on TV kind of talking to you, because I'm not going to waste too much of your time talking about this, but like that's sort of part of why BetterOn exists. Is for a long time I was really obsessed with the power of naming someone in a video and doing some experiments, for lack of a better word, that like let me know how powerful it was to make somebody feel connected. Like this is all about connection. So it's all about, making them feel connected to you. And in some ways, like that's a great tactic, for lack of a better word, in this world of in the world of asynchronous video, because it's easy for people to feel disconnected. It's easy for people to feel like they don't matter. Not in like a detrimental way, but if you can make anyone feel included in any way possible and bring them into your space, that's the direction we are going in. So, I think what makes this thing we're doing, this BetterOn relationship, so unique, and I think kind of special because, maybe someday we'll meet in person, but not anytime soon. So it's like, leveraging this asynchronous medium to really be intentional, like you said, and use this practice experience as a simulation for what else it could be used for. So anyway, I'll start there. So high level, I'm just gonna my high level headline of what I was thinking about watching your work is let me get this right. There's a difference between talking to a camera and connecting through one. And you're good at both. But the work we're doing is all about connecting through it. And I think that when you look at most people, anybody can talk at a camera, but the real work is really just pulling apart these nuts and bolts. And a lot of the stuff you are telling me about, watching yourself and how when you're on two-way video, it is different. To me, it's actually a world of difference. Pre-recorded stuff like this, when you can't see anybody and you're just by yourself, versus being on a Zoom where you can at least get a couple cues. To me, I think a lot of times people think of the world of video, it's like, oh, this is just one big world of video. To me, it's like, two different planets. So, and I also believe that doing the work in this async manner translates to that. Whereas if we did the work live, it wouldn't translate here. So we're purposely starting in what I believe to be the hardest place to really understand what you need to do in your own body and mind to be able to connect. You have such great awareness. I can feel the empathy. I can feel your connection to others. And I know that Automatic has been a distributed company since forever. So it's not like this is necessarily a new thing like the rest of the world, who is just like, oh man, we're all on video now. That said, it's hard to know how people are doing, to know what is going on their side of the camera, behind that screen. So, even the example you're giving about your coworkers, where you're like, yeah, like I just didn't, there was something there that, not only you noticed, but you know yourself well enough to know that you sort of can latch onto that. You can latch onto that energy and, you know, maybe not like mimic it, but it affects you directly. So this is why I think this cycle of record, reflect, repeat is so valuable, because you get to tune into yourself. And that's something that even if I'm watching your videos and you're telling me how you're feeling about it, like, you know, that's like a fraction of a percent of what your true connection with yourself from the outside is. And that's really what this work is about. And the beauty of it to me is, sure, it translates to a lot of, you know, different things like video work and, you know, maybe talking in front of a room sometimes, but like, you know, that, you know, having space to just observe yourself can be very useful. And you already, you know, you practice mindfulness, you practice meditation, that does translate here. And I think one thing you mentioned that I really think is interesting, and again, it's a little bit like, this is better on foundations. So this is like, come one, come all, let's practice, let's see where it gets you. And it usually gets most people, you know, better. It gets them a little bit more aware and focused than they were. But then of course, you know, it can, for different people, it can go a lot of different directions and they want to take it in a lot of different directions. But sort of the advanced, I don't know, way of thinking or tactic that you mentioned is, there's a world of difference between watching yourself right after doing the work and a couple days later. I'm sure somewhere, somehow, there is a scientific definition that explains that, but it got me thinking. And I also take into account what you're saying about how it's hard for you to do it in that moment, because it's like you're having the same conversation in your head that you just were. So if you really want to get into the skill set of being able to observe yourself, now we know that you might need some time to do that. You know, it's like, you know, the reason we do this in such a, you know, not repetitive, but like in such a quick cycle is that, you know, we're trying to accommodate as many people as possible to do this work and get what we need to help them out. People's reflections after watching themselves is sometimes more important than the actual work itself. And we know that most people would rather not sit there and watch themselves, let alone be like, hey, person I don't know, let me tell you about how I feel about this. So we kind of structure it that way because it's fresh in people's minds, and it's like, all right, here's how I feel, and it's valuable to understand, like, here's how I felt doing them. So it's very good for you to know this about yourself, that, you know, it's a different angle when you step away and let life happen and then observe yourself. But part of this too is why it's spread out over 4 weeks. You know, like, we've done this enough where we know that's enough time to feel a shift. It's enough time to be like, oh, I have a new muscle that I'm going to start to use. You know, it's not like we can't do it on like a webinar. We can't do it in, you know, 1 week, maybe 2 weeks. So, you know, I think just learning your style in this helps me know where we can take you. Eye contact, looking at the camera, yeah. Everything. So I've trained myself to block out the rest of the world when I'm doing these videos. So all I see is the green dot and, you know, a distant imagination of you. And I just realized, actually, now that I look at it, like, I actually am, like, this is a whole nother idea I'm having talking to you now. I actually do have photo booth. I'm recording this in photo booth, and I've got my video up. So I am on the screen, but I've disciplined myself to just not even focus on that. And I was going to tell you, minimize yourself. Like, just have it be you and the camera. And even like if I'm giving a talk to a group and I've got 100 different squares going, when it comes time for me to talk, they're not even there. I mean, like, I keep them up on the screen, but I'm just like camera, because this is people's eyes, and really that's what matters, is people's eye connection to you and feeling you connect to them. And all of your videos that you sent in were like, you know, really good, authentic eye contact. So keep it up. I would just say, if you want to, you know, as you get into more just thinking about this stuff in your day-to-day, in talking on group calls, you know, just maybe practice a little bit of that. Just like override your brain to be like, the camera is everything. Nothing else matters. What else do we got? You've got a great natural human connection. Your video about the faceless, you're like, hello, faceless customer. You know, that's something where, you know, kind of like going back to, you mentioned, what did you say? Where is it? Just like you said, sorry, I wrote this down. Oh, a singular type of emotional mask for work. I mean, yeah, that's so true. And it's so common, and, you know, it's not good or bad or right or wrong. But I think that in this work, you can, you know, you get to look at the mask. And if you want to tweak it, do it. If you don't. But, you know, as we think about what connection means, when we think about how do you engage someone you can't see on the other side of it, and all you have is your own space, you know, especially if you're talking to a customer, like, that's a very specific kind of relationship. Like, you know, there's a lot of layers there, but, you know, how do you want to come off, and then how do you want to, you know, is how you engage with that kind of relationship through a camera, is it engaging enough? Is it gonna draw them in? And this is kind of where style comes into play. You know, this is about you developing your own style. And I think you already have one, so you don't need a new one. It's just doing it this manner. It's just a different angle at yourself that, again, you can take everything I say and forget about it, and I'm totally cool with it, you know, or take a couple things and be like, oh yeah, like, I'm gonna add this and I'm gonna take this out. Just a little human experiment we're doing here. I'm gonna try and keep this shorter. Oh my God, this may be the longest video I've ever done for anybody. Jeez, I'm sorry, Aaron. Jeez, you just get me going. You have so much cooking. You think things slower than you speak them, and you might use filler words. So good to know. I didn't pick up on any of that, but if you watch yourself, maybe you do. But I would encourage you to play with silence, because that can be powerful. And in this sort of bubble of pre-recorded video, you know, you're not responding, like, there's no one to respond to. So you can play with that. And using pauses can often be very engaging. That also means that your presence might need to increase to make up for the pauses, depending on who the audience is, because people's attention spans are this big. So it's just making sure that, you know, you keep up the momentum. I am gonna stop there, and I'm just, actually, no I'm not, one more thing. Something about feeling 100%. You know, I don't want to get too deep on this, but like, this is all about moments, and I'm recording myself in a moment. You're watching this video in a moment. You're gonna do next week's work in a series of moments. You're gonna watch yourself in a moment. If you turn around and reflect back on yourself days later, that's another moment of watching yourself. Record a moment. So again, we're talking about authentic presence here. And the reason this is not this isn't like a presentation skills training necessarily. It's like a self-observation training, really. And it's really important for you to know, what do you have to feel like on your end to feel like you are coming through and you feel good and you look how you want to look and you come through how you want to come through. So in the moment that you're not 100%, it's like, this is exhausting work. I mean, I've built the muscle over time where I've just built a resistance and a resilience, I guess, where I can stick it out for a while, and I know what's needed for me to sit down and really kind of talk to someone through a camera when I can't see them. But yeah, I think it's like reserving this video usage for when those moments are available to you, and they're not always there. So that's it. I'm gonna stop rambling. I think this is a new record. Maybe I deserve a medal. Maybe I wasted too much time. I'm looking forward to next week. We're gonna move into some object work. Have fun with it. I can't wait to see what's next. See you, Aaron.